want to, I'm trying to like reset the gauge of like what Purple Banter is and like who we're accountable, what we're building stories for, all these types of things. Like we kind of like reset our ecosystem a little bit because we get
Yeah.
into so much wild stuff, but at the end of the day, and I
Yeah,
love that.
you need to put Cam on the leash.
We need to, dude. Some of the shows we have coming out are chaos next, dude. Chaos. Yeah.
Oh
Not
man,
just
y'all
Cam show.
wild.
I'm saying like other shows.
Y'all wild boys.
Yeah.
I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, it's 5 and a horse.
All right. We'll jump into this. 37 and 37. We got Bayo Adafin in the place. The longest running friend, one of my closest friends, one of my best friends, since middle school, high schoolish, pretty much high school, I would say is probably the truest form
High
of it.
school, yeah, I think freshman year of high school, your sophomore year, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think what I love so much about like who you are as a person is that as much as our lives have continued to change, whether it's the locations that we live in, the things that we're interested in, the distance that we actually live apart now is starting to get crazier and crazier. We've maintained our friendship because we've like fought for it together, right? Like we try to see each other when in similar cities, or even if we're in the same country now, we try to make sure that that link up happens. And just always really appreciated you for that. Because it's rare.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I think, yeah, I mean, this is interesting. I haven't spent that much time thinking about it, but it's funny how all these years pass by. I mean, now it would be damn near 20 years, no?
Yeah. And we've really evolved from throwing parties together in high school to making sure we continue to like link up during our college days when you're living in New York and you continue to throw events. I was continuing to throw events. And now you live all the way in Berlin where you're a
You know, in
restaurateur
Berlin,
over there. And
trying to be.
what so
Yeah.
what was your first you start off with like a taco shop, right?
So started off, yeah, so COVID hit,
Victoria Tacos, right?
Victoria
Was that your
Tacos,
first thing?
that was the first thing. COVID hit, um, buddy of mine I was working with, um, via freelance. He was working at his agency, and we were doing projects together. Uh, and he was thinking about, or he was exiting out of the company, and then his friends, they had this idea of doing a taco shop, and I was just kind of the third wheel in a sense because, um, yeah, I mean, this has been my passion. We've done parties. I've been thinking about hospitality since the high school days, and never thought it would be like a real profession, so to speak.
Yeah.
It's so weird. It's like all this thing that exists, and then like you look at it and you see how interesting it can be, how creative it can be, how hopefully one day how lucrative it can be. Um, and and yeah, and we were just kicking some ideas around, and there was nothing really to do, and I didn't have anything to do. Like I wasn't getting any more freelance jobs because I was mainly doing strategy around different like community activations and events in the running sphere. And yeah, then Victoria kicked off. It did well in this pop up, and then I think everyone looked around and was like, "We don't want to go back to the office. We want to do something with our hands. We want to like create a concept people want to enjoy, people come to, um, and like you just have to take the shot, you know."
And it was one
And
of those things where you always are one of those friends to me that like there's this kid who I met at a bar in Venice. He was from Denver, but he lived in Berlin. And this was maybe a year into Victoria's Tacos, I want to say. Like, like one of my best friends has this taco shop out there. I can't remember the name, but I would imagine it's kind of like this vibey little spot. I'm just sitting there, seated on there, and he goes, "Oh, that's Victoria Tacos." And you
Uh,
already,
yeah,
even,
it was cool.
being in the
That was
trenches of it, you
cool.
probably know that there's like a little vibe happening. But when just that small description, he goes, "That's Victoria Tacos." Yes, they're
Yeah, it
pop.
is. Yeah, that is cool that like, and that's, I mean, this is also speaks to like the thing about, yeah, being in like hospitality or whatever, is that like you get to touch so many random people or just have like this interaction. And I think this is like kind of our thing, that what how we've evolved together, because like you, like when I look at you and I think about our friendship, like you always were like open to connect with more new people, learn from people, be affected by other people, evolve, like change, be
Yeah.
different,
Yeah,
and then
you've
grow with
seen a
that, and then
totally different
always
version of me
be,
from beginning to to where I'm at
yeah, but
today.
also just like, but also I knew like, and I think we kind of gravitate towards that because it's like there's like our friendship and the trust and the history, but then there's also like this experiential element to it where we know when we hit each other up, like there is like we're gonna show each other something that we haven't seen before, or something that's like,
Right.
not that it's like cool or whatever, but it's like I'm gonna be put into a situation that just I would never find myself in if I wasn't with you, you
Right.
know?
Right.
And so like this is, or if I wasn't with one of your friends, you know? So like this was always this amazing thing. And like when you see people evolve and change, it's that like they connected because like there's like a sense of values they share, but then also that there's like this idea that whatever stage that you're in, like where you are, like there's room and space for you to fit in there, you know? Like you can show up at any time, at any place, wherever I am, like you're invited, like you're coming. And it's
Yeah.
vice versa, you know? And it's like it doesn't really matter. Like there's no, like I don't need to explain it to anybody else, you know? Like it's just like
Well,
he just
that's
gonna
the
bring
thing.
it.
Like you have an incredible knack for plugging into community and then also cultivating, right? In all of these different steps, even, while you're like at Columbia, and maybe it was right after you graduated, but you started to do like the coffee cafe, like that, or the soccer
Oh, the football
club,
cafe.
the
Yeah,
football
yeah, yeah.
cafe. And it's always been cool to see you fostering and just being in, not always even having to be like a central component in things, but still fostering like from this aspect of like, yo, this is something special, like let's bring more to it. um and it always is fun, like in any environment that you go to. I can generally expect Bio's going to be surrounded and be within like a wonderfully excited, rambunctious, goofy, insightful community that is just trying to like share life with each other.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the only way. I
Yeah.
mean, for me, you know, because it's just like if you're living in a city and all this kind of stuff, and like, I mean, everything we say today, it don't have to be profound, but really, it's just like, oh, shit. It, what else? What else are you
Now,
gonna do?
what just speaks so closely before we get into like your new venture and what you've shifted into within your new spot. Uh it shows so much of who you are, of how you love to plug in, and you find yourself at the ground floor of big things all the time. And so we're running around. You're probably 18, so I'm probably 20-ish. And you're like, hey, I'm like working for this hospitality group. They seem to be kind of popping in New York. You're at that stage in life where you're like, I'm going to live in New York the rest of my life. I'm just in the jungle. And this group ends up being One Oak, like at their initial stages. And you're running around helping out with like the hotels and like promoting some of the events and making sure that like the exterior of people are starting to get an understanding of what this thing is, and watching what that has evolved into, and knowing that you were able to just like plug yourself in at such a young age and just kind of realize what that looks like to build from us from a place that like created huge impact in New York at the time, and then has totally evolved into the club's international club scene that's synonymous with kind of the peak of hospitality.
Well, yeah, there's two, just to clarify. I mean, like, well, in college, yeah, I was interning with Butter Group. So they had Butter Restaurant, and then they had One Oak, and then they opened uh the Derby, which turned into Up and Down, and then then like they grew to LA, and I think now they still have a few properties, maybe Tokyo or something. But
Butter was
then
actually their
after
big one, right? Are they? Is that Butter
that was
restaurant
because
still
that was
around?
their first hit. I think maybe the one in Midtown, the one in NoHo closed, like, I think it was closed shortly after I graduated, I think.
Okay,
But then, and at the same time, once we graduated, then this was with like Rob and Ian. We were doing some of these like New Year's Eve parties, and then we were also working with one of the partners at Tao Group. So
okay.
they're the ones that like they're like super big time, and these
They
guys
just
are
scaled
just
it up like
opening a
huge.
rest. They're opening some big restaurant every month. It seems like that. Like they I don't know. They must have 50, 60 properties around the world already that are doing super well. And we learned a lot from that. But yeah, I mean, it's just yeah, it's a weird. I kind of look back at this time and definitely didn't take full advantage of it. But actually, the story has worked out
But I think you did to
in
the
its
because
own
what I
way.
always
You
saw
know.
within that context is like I think you were willing to always dive deep on things to learn from people and like be involved. You're even throwing your own parties that had its own traction, like at the time in New York. But I see you like in your truest form of where you are now, and all of that still like resonates so well. Like just your energy, like what you're able to build in Berlin, and thinking that you were going to be someone who like lived in New York the whole time. It's cool to see your willingness to like pick up and say, no, I'm going to go over here, but I'm still going to bring some of like the flavor, the experience, the understanding that I know to hopefully like bring a new energy and experience to people across the world.
Yeah, I think. Well, I mean, I left New York. People always asking me like why I left because yeah, I was one of these like lifers. I wanted to, a wannabe lifer. Um, but it was like, yeah, it was weird. I mean, like it was just this intuition or something within me that wasn't being satisfied, And I think like it was crazy because it was my birthday, and then Maria made like this video with Makach of all our friends and stuff like that. And it just like brought me back to all these different times and places in my life from all these different people. And like you're surrounded by all these amazing people, but then you somehow feel stuck personally, and you feel like, okay, what are you actually doing? You don't feel like super connected to yourself.
Yeah,
And then yeah, and I just, like then you just like going out, you're just kind of running away from all these things. And also like your sense of self comes from all these people, and it's not a knock from all these people because like I think I have an amazing group of friends, but you get comfortable in playing this role for yourself because like it feels good to be around all these amazing people, and
sure.
that's all you know. And so I had to, I just, well, it's one weekend, and it's like this is like I have to leave. I have to get out of here. Otherwise, I actually literally will be here for the rest of my life, and I can be doing the same thing for the next 25 years and wake up and be 50 and being like, I haven't I haven't changed at all. I've just
Right.
like I've been a chameleon, and like you adapt to the situation, but like internally, spiritually, like character, it's like you didn't evolve. You just like you think you're in the center of the universe and you're with all the coolest people, and you think that like, your proximity to success is exciting and amazing, and maybe you come into your own personal success, but like it's all these external things, and you never have to like actually investigate yourself,
and process. Well, because
and
it's almost
process
the same
and develop and evolve.
claustrophobia that we experienced in Minnesota, right? But then you experience it again, like when you're in New York, where it's like, hey, we know that we have to, like, I think that's why I think we became close friends so quickly, is that we're like, hey, one, we're going to be friends for a lifetime. We can guarantee that from like early on when we were talking, even though a lot of other people would guarantee that and they're just no longer like as
Yeah.
communicative as us. But um, you have to like, once you find yourself ever in a broken record, it's time to like break and to grow. It's not always about moving, I don't think. It's sometimes about being able to like break that record even inside the place that you're in. So I think you can do it anywhere. But moving is certainly a way to be able to help some of that process. Uh, but it's interesting to hear you almost have that same experience, because that was, to me, that was the same moment that you were in when you're like your junior year of high school, when you're like, hey, like everyone's starting to like drink a lot and everyone's starting to like get ready for college, and you had like this full like spiritual year of commitment where you're like, hey, not touching any of this bogus stuff. I'm fully committing myself to like your future, to God, to all these different things. I don't know what your head total mind space was in that. And then before you know it, it's, you're going to Colombia and really like breaking out of the atmosphere that we currently lived in. And it almost seems like the same evolution that you've done from New York to Berlin.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, in high school, I sprained my ankle junior year. I think it was junior year, and like I was out basically the whole season. Came back for the playoffs, but I was sitting there, and I mean, there was also an ego thing, like I was racking up stats.
Yeah,
Like,
I'll say it for the people. You were by far like one of the best players in Minnesota. You should have, like, it was on you to be able to like advance to where you wanted to go. But like it can be a burden when like almost everything is available to you. You just need to step up into your own existence. But you were one of those guys where everybody's like, this guy should go as far as he wants to go.
yeah, and actually, I mean, I don't know where it came from, but I mean, it was like this kind of commitment, with God, where it's like I put away all the distractions, and like I'll just work, and like it kind of there's different ways to look at it, because it's like when you don't have, but I was like, there was nothing. I'm not gonna intentionally self-sabotage myself, and I think, and like for me, the anxiety around not being able to go where you want to go, or just leave, and see something different because you decided to like fuck around and have like 99 apples. Like I was like, it made me sick. Like I was, and I also saw other friends getting caught, and then you're out for half a season. I already like, freshman year, sophomore year, but then I was really coming into my own junior year. You lose a season. There's 1 year left, you know, and in Minnesota, you didn't have all this access. We didn't have these big clubs and all this stuff. So it's like you gotta shine, and
Mm-hmm.
and then it's like, come on, like this can't. There could be a lot of reasons why you don't get to do whatever, and I didn't even have, we had some ideas in my mind, but it's like, but drinking ain't gonna be this, like that ain't gonna be the reason. Like, nah, that's crazy. Like it actually was like, this is actually insane.
Now, isn't it funny
Like I
though?
will
So
never get caught.
now fast forward like 10 years later, which I think we both have been like so involved in different communities and been going out and being all these things. Before you know it, what I like one of my favorite spots in LA is called Barney's Beanery, and we like do a bunch of like live podcasts on that space.
Oh man,
And it's like it's
oh
right
my
in the
gosh, love
hub
that spot.
of West Hollywood. It's all of it,
It's such
right?
a goofy spot. I went there before I left last time I was in town. It's
Yeah.
such a goofy. It's so goofy.
It's goofy because, dude, it's Applebee's. That's what it's Applebee's. It's like a better version. I guarantee the people who like started Applebee's went to Barney's Beanery and go like, okay, we're gonna bring this everywhere, and then it starts to dilute itself. Now, what I'm trying to say is, even as much as I love this spot, I see a lot of people get too lost in that scene, and they're like, I'm in West Hollywood. We're not drinking 99 apples. We're drinking like something a little bit nicer. And but at the same time, I start to look around after being like absorbed in these places for long enough, and I go, you could potentially get caught in that same mentality that you could get caught in Rochester, Minnesota, where you're like, oh, I'm just like out with my friends, I'm just doing this thing. And okay, we're not drinking 99 apples. You might even be drinking like Grey Goose, but like at this stage in life, what's the difference? You know what I mean? You're almost it's like different bar, but same darn thing. If you're not careful,
Yeah, yeah. You got to check yourself and like. I mean, Berlin. It's also very hard. Like um, COVID was also a blessing because, and then, you know, the Victoria closing also bless. Like all these things have been blessing if you appreciate it and open yourself up to accept what's going on and also disconnect it from your sense of self and figure out like what what my value is, how I value myself, and then what are all these other things that make me seem like I'm valuable, you know?
yeah,
And so I think if you get attracted to those, and I've been there before, that you get stuck and you like it feels good because like there's 50 things you can be doing in a day, a million things you can be doing in a day. And if you choose to spend it, I mean, every once in a while, it's amazing. You choose to spend one day being doing whatever and then spend the next day in bed, that's fine. But then if that's your attraction because you just get that like sense of belonging, but you don't, but you can't go home and feel good, then it's like, you have to think about like what's so attractive about this right now. Like what's so important about this that you couldn't be doing something else? And I'm not saying that it's bad to be doing that. Like I love going. I mean,
yeah.
I love going out.
And it's okay.
You
That's the
know,
thing. Like when you go out, what you're essentially doing is you're pressing pause on like all the other things that you are doing in life, and you're going, I want to press pause to be able to take time for either the people around me or even for my own mentality to go, I just want to like just experience life tonight and all of that.
be
But
out in the mix and be in an adventure and be in a city and like bump into mad strangers and see what
right.
happens, because that's like, I mean, our lives now are super controlled. It's like it's very rigid, very structured. But then when you go out, I mean, I'm not attracted to the adventure anymore. But when you like have this adventure, it's it's amazing. You're like,
Yeah.
what can't happen tonight?
I mean, I think we were in that mentality right after college where, anytime I'd come to New York, I'm like, Bayo, show me the bottom. Like, show me the
what
bottom of this place.
what can't happen tonight? And it's just like, yeah.
And that's fun for
And,
for a little bit, for sure.
but you know how it but then actually then you wake up and it's 5 years later and you're like, I actually know how the story ends. 9 out of 10 times. I know how it ends. Always. It always ends the same way.
Yeah.
And it's just like there's nothing out there. There really isn't. I mean, it's fun. And it's like, but it's fun when you switch from believing that you don't know how the story ends to actually going out and being like, I know exactly how the story ends and I want it to end that way. And that's what I'm doing. And then it's even more fun because you're just like, yeah, I'm gonna go out, I'll do my thing, and I'm going home. It's like there's nothing else out there for me. There's nothing else. Like everything I need is out.
Yeah.
That's it.
So like,
Because you also created that, like you created that space for yourself and you also created that that appreciation of your time and appreciation of like the other things that you're doing that's important to you. You know, it's like there actually isn't other things that matter so much. Like what's the extra 2 hours?
Yeah. Except in Berlin, that's like an extra 2 years or 2 days.
It's like
It's
it's
a
like
two
extra.
day.
What's the extra 12 hours? You know?
Now I'm all about like pressing pause, especially now that I have like wife and baby, where I will, on the right day, even if it's midweek, sometimes just, hey, we're pressing pause right now. We're just gonna sit here. Now, what's scary is that when you get in those environments for too long, you realize that there's some people that have pressed, they keep on, they just sit on pause. And then they not only press pause, they also just press mute. They're just out. They're just like, and
Yeah, that's it.
it's like, bro, you
Yeah,
need to, re-engage here.
yeah, but it's scary though. It's
It's
scary.
enticing. That's the thing. For anyone, it's enticing.
It's enticing, but I would say it's scary because I give an example, like with Victoria, you know, like there's a lot of things that we did well, there's a lot of things that we didn't do well, and we made this decision that we were going to close um, for a variety of reasons, and I was dreading this decision so much because I wrapped my whole not I basically wrapped my identity not into the thing itself, but to the idea of the thing itself and what
And
it
that's what it
could
takes
be or
for
what the
that thing to be
success is.
successful. You have to put the whole cloak on in order for it to
You
work.
in
To
a
a certain
sense,
extent, you learn how to
in
not
a
tie it
healthy
too
way.
tight.
But it's in a healthy way, and it's like what are you attracted to? It's like, are you really expressing yourself? And I mean, this is kind of the difference between like doing something that like sounds good, it looks good, it seems smart, it seems right, but is it authentic? And then it's like, how do you sustain this day to day? And I was dreading it to get back to the point. I was dreading it because it's just like, well, like I was gonna have to look into myself in the mirror and like, have take a huge L or what I thought would be a huge L, and be like, okay, you failed, you couldn't do it, you didn't do. And then I call these people and I tell them like, this thing's going on, and like they're just like, okay, like, but you still like we still love you, you're still cool, like you still did this thing, I'm still proud of you, I'm still doing another thing. And no one ever said anything of being like, well, why couldn't you make it work? Like no one like they cared about the success. Of course, there's money involved in all the stuff, but like none of the conversations about it. No one gave a shit. No one fucking cared. It was just like, how are you doing? Like, you this doing this meant like this to me, all these different things. And I was like, well, I have value outside of
Yeah.
like presenting something, of giving something to somebody else. Like I can't just like exist and people just like me because of who I am. Like, oh, this actually works. This is real. And then it was a big flip for me because, then like along alongside some other things, it's just like, well, shit, like it doesn't really matter anymore. It's like
That
do
gives you more of a
do the
freedom to
real
stay
thing.
loose and be like, oh,
Well, do
I
the real
can.
thing, but it's just like it's just not guaranteed for you. And it's also like you can't rely on that being your thing because it will come to an end. Like it's gonna come to an end. Like there's gonna be a day when you're not the man anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe more days than not, you are not the man. So
Yeah.
like, how are you gonna get out of bed? And at certain points in my life, if this happened at certain points in my life, I could be that guy at Barney's Beanery. Like I could be that guy.
Oh, for sure.
And that's how scary it is that you're walking this line, and maybe through grace you never tipped over, but I was in a lot of positions someone could really push me over the edge. There's a lot of opportunity to get pushed over on the edge, and then like, how you gonna come back? You can, but like, it's hard.
Yeah,
It's
and
hard.
it's weird because we are getting to that age where it gets harder to start over. And like the L's that I've eaten are like this freaking big, dude. Like big old L's
But you
a,
keep going. That's the thing, and
with a
that's
lot of
like,
friends and family involved. I lost people some money and
yeah.
got totally entangled in Juice Spot for 10 years. And I think it was the biggest blessing ever. Anytime that you get something stolen from you by a billionaire, I love it. Even though I don't think it was a real billionaire, I think it was Turkish billionaire, which is probably like maybe worth a few $100,000. But
I
but he got
stay
it
out of
in
that
the
one.
US. Um, but anyways, I think that the important part is understanding like your life storyline. And I think we all lived this era especially in the States where it was like, I'm going to be sitting on 25 million by the time I'm 25 years old. And I think that a lot of us like lived in that, definitely had our dreams have at least be attached to those types of realities. And it just isn't always going to work out. Like these are these aspirational things. And what you get back to is going, when I have to start over, how can I at least grow from a place that I'm happy with the day more than the outcome? And then the world, in theory, rewards you for like that purity. Uh, because we've all, I think, been a part of the things where it's like, because of this overall theme or goal where you're going to attach your identity to the success that's going to get hit, you're willing to compromise for different things. We're like, well, as long as my identity can be attached to this crazy success at the end of the day, I'm willing to compromise. Now I get to a point where I'm like, I'm not willing to really compromise on much when it comes to like what I'm going to wrap myself in. Uh, it's super freeing. It makes no really, really easy. And that's what I see. And it's Love Deluxe, right? Is your new spot.
Yeah, yeah, it's a new spot.
And
It's
I
a new
see it
spot.
like so much truer to who you are. And I also, but what I like best about it is I see you just playing. Like I see you like evolving and being in something that like allows you to, in theory, grow. I don't know what the day to day feels like. Um, but from afar, it looks like you're still being like loose with like what that experience there is.
Yeah, it's pure. It's pure. Like it's a pure concept from our position. You know, my business partner Eddie, who's fantastic. I mean, we're super lucky to have like converged on this thing. And um, what's interesting about Love Deluxe is that it's like it's it's a restaurant concept. It's amazing food. We're like bringing something that's a true expression of ourselves, but it's also a survival mission because we realized, not initially, but like as it was like starting to, once we opened and as it was starting to grow, we were like, if we don't have this, like there is no home for us in Berlin. And that doesn't mean that like you don't have a business, or you don't have income, or you don't have like a sense of self, but it's really like we we wanted to create a place where it felt like some semblance of home, you know, what that felt like. And for me, that feels like having a place that you pop into. It always feels nice when you walk in there, you know, like you have a little chit chat with the people that work there. You care about them, you know, they care about you. There's different things that's going on. It's a diversity of people. It's not a transaction. I mean, obviously, you come there, you eat food, you pay for the food, whatever. But you also come there because, you know, there's like this human element that like
Yeah.
you live in the city, you're on the street, and that like you want to touch other people. and you want
Yeah.
them to see you and you want to be touched, you know, like, and that's, and for us, it's like being in Berlin 5 years, you know, the first 4 years, just floating around and meeting a lot of people, but not feeling super connected to the city or to any person in particular. And then in this last year, it's just like, I'm like, it's a, like, I don't know, all these people just were like there. Like they've been here for years and years and years. And you're just like, all these people there, you're like, where have I been? Like all these amazing new friendships, all these different people, all this diversity, all this like these connection points. And you're just like, I could not have lived another 4 years like that, you know?
Gotcha.
And now like you have this whole thing, and that's the beauty of it, you know, and this is what's driving the whole project, you know, that like it's really it's really like you feel like you truly feel the love in this place, and like it's it's a place for us that's home, you know, and that
Hmm.
meant, I mean, you know, all the people like we hung around growing up, the people that we've met along the way, it's like you're meeting people all over the place, and the kinship there is that like, y'all just come inside, like you're welcome, like you
Yeah.
just like, let's just rock, like that's it, you
I
know,
love
like
the
I don't need
restaurants
it,
like
I
that
don't
where
need anything from you.
you're even scared to call like a transaction because in the reality of it, the way that you're looking at who people are like paying for the food when they're, it's a contribution to what you're building, right? And so it's like it's way less transactional. It's like you know, it's like, dude, by you paying for this, we finally get to like live another day, and it's a contribution to this place being able to stay and exist.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. I mean,
and
I'll
you
give you an
can
example. I mean, it's like Victoria in the same space, and then I kind of took it over, you know, of like a, you know, like kind of a slow buyout with the partner, like my former partners, blah, 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 blah. But now, you know, it's like, so I've been on this corner for now 3 years, whatever. And it's like neighbors, people I've seen, it's like we're connected with like, you know, like before I didn't speak to any of like the neighbors. I knew like one person that was like these like ladies that lived above us, and the only interaction was like occasionally like they tell us to turn down the music, you know. Now it's like we know so many people that live in our building, that live across the street, that like you have a personal relation, you know, like they're
do you
watching us.
live
People
near
are
the
texting.
restaurant?
I don't live near the restaurant.
But like that
So it's,
restaurant is an extension of your home, and you're saying like you're now like a staple of the
yeah, I
neighborhood.
mean, people like come, they just come by to say hi. They texting, being like, "Oh, we saw so and so. This happened." You know, like, "Hey, we'll look. We'll like if you ever need anything, we'll look at off the spot." They come by. They, you know, like they leave their you know, like it's just really like a real relationship. You know, like they don't use the space as just some place to come eat. Like they also use the space as like an extension of the building of their home, of the neighborhood, that they, you know, like there are people here that they connect with, and they also contributed back, you know. And so it's just crazy how it happened like this, and it's like it's all the same faces, but the relationship, it changed. I mean, because the energy changed, and the output changed, like the goal changed. And I mean, it's rewarding that that people feel it, they see it, you know, and like,
It's so
and we
funny how
we
God
also,
works because he likes you to like slide into home during like the World Series. And it almost feels like this new restaurant is like something like that, where you're probably sitting there going, am I going to stay in Berlin? Like, does this even make sense? Like this restaurant, in a theory, found you the hope and the friendship and the community that you long desire. But it's it's cool to see when like you need something, you also realize that there's probably a lot of people around you that needed it too. And so now they come to like your like last rooted desire of like, hey, this is what I need in order to like live here the right way. And now probably hundreds of other people go, I needed the exact same thing.
and that's why I'm not worried, you know. Like, I mean, there's a lot of things that could also like put this one out too. But
Yeah.
in the end, it's like it has all of the things that you want, you know, and like outside of like the operations itself and the food and the, you know, like just how it works and how it runs. It's like if we were to close tomorrow, there would be a genuine outreach of folks checking in, being like, "What's the deal? Like, what's going on? Like, how can we help? Like, what's happening? Like, why? You know, like there would be a legitimate, you know, and this for me means that like, you know, people, you know, their families come, they bring their families, not because they just want to show like them like a good meal. It's like they come here, they introduce them to us, you know, like I want you to meet
That's so
so and
dope.
so, you know, and so you know it's like it does it like it's just it's a different feeling. It's a different movement. And so the economics behind it, I mean, we still have a lot to grow, but like I feel secure in that because people care, you know, like, and granted, like of course, like you gotta serve amazing food. I
Yeah.
mean, this is number one, but like when you do that on top and people feel so connected and they feel so like they feel a part of it in a way, they feel like they also have a part of it. This is, you know, this is special. It's like how nice is it? You have some neighbors live across the street. How like they drop their kids off, and it's just nice sometimes for them to they just pop in to just say hi. You know, neighbors that live upstairs, they're not even trying to eat.
They're
They
like,
just
yo,
come
not getting anything
they
today. Just want to say
they
what up.
just come to check in and just say what how's your day? Come on. I mean, this
That's
is and when you're
awesome.
talking about you live in a big city, I mean, you don't get that. You go out on the street, you get on the bus, you get on the U-Bahn, the subway, whatever. You go to work, and not one person is going to talk to you.
Well, that's what's so funny about these big cities, especially as all the people that move into them. We all move into these big cities to be able to find other people with energy, dreams, exciting, all this stuff. We go to big cities to find connection, but then over time, these big cities do kind of wear on us, and we get to the point where we like you can slowly kind of close off a little bit. But then
Yeah.
when that like your heart gets reignited with this fire of, oh, people do want connection here. They need it. That's why they move here. Then like somehow it all floods back in and you can
Mm.
rediscover a community where I'm sure you've met people in the last 6 months that said, I've lived a block away for blah, blah, blah years. And you're like, how have I never met you? And now you're one of my favorite people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. It's crazy. It's
it's
crazy.
it's always interesting because like I think that it even inspires me like where I'm at right now, where it's like just you have to get back to like what you truly desire and build from like the right place because Purple Banter's for sure like in its third death period right now. And this is a true testament of building the way that we want to. Because I think that there's, like I said kind of before, there's probably different compromises that I made that I'm like, that's probably why we died before. And while you're going through these little death stages, which life's beautiful because it gives you many stages, you just have to like get back to yourself. And I truly believe that things come out and a stage that you thought was going to be your downfall ends up being a step up.
And it's actually also like there are so many ways to make money. I mean, I say that with a lot of privilege, but there's so many ways to make money. But then you also, and when you see it from other people, I mean, definitely on the outside, and you know, we have a lot of successful friends and things like this, and they're amazing people for sure. But then you also you see a lot of people that are doing amazing things and financially aren't as secure as other people.
Yeah.
And in my mind, like they carry, I mean, in some ways, I mean, the person who's not making money, I mean, what they're contributing, it it can't be translated in dollars, you know?
Right.
And so, I mean, and so like it's, you know, like you want to be able to have a house, I mean, whatever, like you have a home and, you know, be able to feed yourself and your family and all these things. And, you know, like that doesn't mean because you can't do this upon success that like it's not valuable and it's not successful, you know? And also
100%.
it's also just like I can buy into something, as you said, you know, with our spot, like, you know, that you contribute to something because it like that's it has value, you know, and it's like
Yeah.
it's not gonna let me retire, but it doesn't need to do that, you know.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting we don't get lost in this idea. I mean, and I tell you, like, I mean, we all definitely want success, and it's nice to just chill, you know. But in
Yeah.
the end, you can't lose sight that like you can't measure everything in how much someone is putting into your bank account. Otherwise, it's just
Yeah.
very few people win this game.
And
You know,
I don't even believe that, especially like where entrepreneurship is today, unless you're doing some weird like financy stuff or Bitcoin, whatever, tech. Um, I don't think that things work when it comes to like a hospitality, when it comes to any level of like entertainment thing. If you're not true to yourself, it'll never work. So a lot of people try to like not be true to themselves and they're still fighting the rat race. Like I'd rather be in the rat race and fight for with myself, do it the right way. And that's where it pops. That's where like a Love Deluxe gets put on a whole nother map. Or also, you're also going to have a bunch of other creative ideas that could pop up in your head where someone comes up and goes, yo, we want to take other things to the next level with you. Um, let's build out from here. And when they
and
see
it's
your true authentic self build out, they're like, what would it cost to help me build what your heart into this other environment? And that's where it gets expensive and it becomes lucrative.
it's fun. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's like when your mentality shifts. I mean, Victoria was super hard. I mean, we worked really hard. We had also totally experienced and we did a lot of stupid things that we didn't have to do, et cetera, et cetera. Now it's still hard. And I love that shit. I wash dishes more than I care to admit. And I love coming to work. I love this shit.
Yeah.
I mean it's like it's not what I want to be doing for the next 10 years, you know, like the things day to day that I'm doing now. But it's like it's all part of the game. Like I'm a role player, you know, like
Right.
I love it. I love it. So I mean you feel the physicality and the emotion and like, you know, the highs and the lows, but getting up every day is pretty easy because it's just
Bring you in a cameo here.
you have your like you know like you have your vision.
Puff.
You haven't compromised.
Right. Dude, I just appreciate you as a friend. I love your dream and your journey that you're on right now, bro. It's a beautiful thing. I'm
You
gonna
as
get out to
well. And
Berlin.
yeah, you got to come. You know, you got to come.
We're
Give
going
me.
to Barcelona for our honeymoon, but and I know that for Elof, we gotta really stick to like Barcelona, Ibiza. You know, the honeymoon thing's a little different
Oh
than just like
wow.
a Euro trip.
Nah,
We
do a
gotta
quick
we're gonna stay
do it
really
a quick trip.
insulary and really like stay within ourselves there, but I gotta figure out a way to get out.
I mean, I popped out to your wedding for 4 days from Berlin, so you can do it. You
I'm gonna
can do
bring on
it.
a cameo
that
right at
was a
the end
quick.
to be able to just finish this thing off, and then I'm not gonna waste any more time. Where's this cameo at?
It's a voice from the past. Let's see if you can identify it. Let's just
Oh wow.
situation. Dr. Stead, remember
Oh wow.
when I said I was gonna keep you in purgatory and now I need you?
The
Boom!
big
I'm back.
stallion. The big stallion. There he is.
Big guy. I just saw your dad at the club
Wow.
the other day. So
Oh, nice.
good to see you. So
Oh, how you
Bayo is the
doing?
man. He has always been the man in soccer. He's always been the man people look up to, as LJ is exemplifying by the fact that You're one of the 37 that may have made his life. You're one. If I did 37, you'd be in my 37. We would, however, in my 37, I'd probably have your mom first.
You gotta have my mom first. You gotta
Okay.
have my mom
So I
first.
got to tell two bio stories. One first about your mom. So LJ and this good man, Bayo and the boys had a group back in the day called Seize the Moment, Carpe
wow. We're going.
Momento. And they would
Yeah.
put on functions. Back in the day, the different schools couldn't go to each other's functions. So Bayo and Setter said, let's start our own functions. So they started throwing events off the wall. I mean, they'd have 1,000 people show up. It was incredible what you guys did. I remember one case out at the International Event Center that you had, and some guys were coming in, starting to kind of raise havoc a little bit and wear caps and just cause ruckus. And we set up a deal that we said, no, no colors, no caps, just that's it. And and some young guys came in and go, hey, we're keeping our caps on. Bayo's mom came over and go, really? Boom. Off goes the cap, just like this, clicks it off.
Who's a tougher doorman, your mom or that Bergen guy? Because I think Tony's close.
Tony,
Yeah, she's
controlled
not
the
playing.
show.
She's not
And
playing.
Toughest door in America was that, yeah, the black and white party, bro.
who's going to question Tony? Tony was the ultimate doorstop. These guys just went from big tough guys to, whoa, I just could put in my place by Tony Adafin. Back off.
Yeah, that was
It was
it.
great.
That
And
was
then
it.
the other thing was, particularly in regard to you, because Bayo was the man and just everybody loved him. And this new thing started called Facebook and social media. And I wanted to be his friend on social media. And he goes,
Oh man.
Doc's dead. I get a lot of requests. I'm gonna have to put you in purgatory. I'm okay with that.
You are one of
You gotta explain. You gotta.
There was hundreds in purgatory.
So purgatory was when you just didn't reply or accept or decline
the
a
friend
request.
request.
So you were just
it.
notified, but you didn't press the button.
Okay.
Accept or decline. That's purgatory.
Possibly. What I recall, in theory, what he said. I'm a big in theory. I'm not discounting what he said, but what he said in theory is true. But what I recall, I was in purgatory. But I said, Bayo, I'll bide my time. There's going to be a time you need me, and then we'll see what happens. Well, lo and behold, I won't give you all the details, but there was one.
I needed you.
So there was a morning, I guess a night. LJ comes and goes, Bayo needs your help, Dad. Can you help?
He's gonna need you. He's gonna need you.
With a couple calls, I did help the situation. He comes in, then you then were able to leave the situation, come to ours, and you came in a little sheepishly, and I didn't say anything. And you look up and you go, Dr. Stead, you're no longer in purgatory. Boom! So where I'm going with that,
made it out.
Give grace, receive grace, and give everybody a little pause. Things will happen at the right time. I just caught the end of your little discussion a little bit here, and I think give each other grace, give grace to others, give grace to yourself, and just take a little pause and let things develop. Proving that, I had to wait with my pause for purgatory, but now I can right now go to my phone and look up Bayo Adafin Berlin. And I know for a fact I could call him and would be welcome. So two thumbs up to you, my friend. So that was the cameo. I'll sit back and let you guys wrap it up. Your dad says hi, and you are the best family ever. Godspeed.
Oh, love you, Dr. Stead. And this is what I'll say. My last point, which is I think speaks to the friendship, is that having family and feeling like you're part of family. It's like I think we can go to each other's houses, and it's like also it's not that we stay friends; it's that we also stay connected to each other's parents and see them, and it's like it's just amazing because it's not that we have our own thing. It's like I feel that we are family, man. It's
100%.
So nice. I mean, to see your dad and see everybody, it's crazy.
And it's funny because our parents became friends by helping us run the door at our events. And now our parents
Yeah.
see each other more than they see us. So it's funny how that all works. And it's a beautiful thing, man. But I can definitely say that like you're one of the reasons that I think about my life, and I feel so much like love, grace, and hope for people like you in it. So I just appreciate you, bro.
Man, sending you blessings. I love you. You're one of my closest friends. 37. It's the next one. And watching you grow, watching you move from city to city and have impact. And then also now being an amazing husband, a wonderful father, stepping into that, being excited about that. I think we all look up to each other, but I really look up to you and how you have always embraced life and embraced like what it means to have family and creating family and just like the love you show other people. Like you really are an inspiration to me and I know we don't see each other much, but like we're always watching each other and I think it's just special when I just catch glimpses of your life and I'm like, I'm just satisfied. I'm like, he's still doing it. He's still doing it.
Still fighting. And then when we see each other, we clock right back in.
And
We're like,
that's
let's
it.
go.
You lock back in. Let's lock back in.
Well, love you, bro.
All right, my man. Love
have a
you.
good
Thank
day.
you for inviting me out to this. And then I gotta clock in for the special day. And then we celebrate later on in the year.
That's right. Love you, bro. God bless. And all you out there, do
All
not
right.
forget that Mother's Day is coming right now. So make sure you get your mother something nice.
Definitely gotta go get something nice.
The moment.
All right. God bless. Over and out. See you, buddy.
I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, it's 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war.